Storage Institute is so excited to have Tola Kasali, CEO of Perspective Developers. He has patented technology that is taking over the industry. He's merging NFTs, blockchains, and drones. And if you want to know what the future of emerging tech is, it's NFTs, blockchain, and drones. Tola, give us a little intro into Perspective Developers before we get into the deep dive into what you're up to these days.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. It's good to be with Storage again. It's been a little while. But in layman's term, pretty much at Perspective Developers, we create unique UAV autonomous drones and operational with NFT authentication processing systems. So this not only allows us to visualize drones and see what they're doing and swarm effects and singularity effects, but it also allows us now to be able to give authenticators and settings to it, which is how we use blockchain and the NFTs to incorporate this.
So UAVs, I think, have been in the conversation for, at least 5 years with regard to people understanding the practical application of drone technology. These unmanned vehicles are being used now more in the mainstream, but you started off using UAVs and drones. I mean, Storage Institute, and we all started talking about 3 years ago, and we've been able to see your evolution and the evolution of your company over that time. But I'm curious, what got you into it? How'd you start? What happened? What was your life before drones and blockchain?
Oh, so before this, we were just a regular dev operation based out of Denver, Colorado. What really got me into this sector was once we did cattle proof. Cattle proof was the first authentication process we used for NFTs on a public blockchain using Ethereum network. So we were able to get this published with the state of Nebraska, state of Colorado, state of Wyoming, and we were able to replace their e-branding committee and now be able to give the power back to the ranchers, because one of the biggest issues was finding a way to authenticate cows while still being able to liquidate hard assets such as cattle. So we were able to accomplish that. And from there, with the data tracking aggregation that we did, we just thought of NFTs as a great, unique way to utilize immutable data, blockchain, to incorporate this into our concept. So from there, we just kept going deeper and deeper, and we got invited to do work with the Air Force. And after our first opportunity, we were able to help them win several awards. And now we started creating our own products and entities. So that's what we do now. We use blockchain and the immutable capabilities inside of a authentication process that now allows us to aggregate that data for secure purposes and to validate what we're doing with UAVs or unmanned vehicles in real time.
I mean, this is so future pacing. And I remember when we first met, I was like, you're thinking so far ahead of the game to be able to integrate the numerous applications of blockchain technology to secure, track, monitor, share securely data that for history has not been there. It hasn't been any reasonable way to track it. There's not been ways to monitor in the way that you have. What even gave you the idea to start using blockchain technology and integrating that with drone technology?
So when I first got onto blockchain, I didn't see it from a currency standpoint, as I was telling you back then. I always thought of blockchain, especially NFTs, as a single way to create immutable, unique data that now allows us to coordinate or correlate what we're looking to do with our existing infrastructure or entities. So it's another way to verify. So the minute we're able to verify, we can proceed in our own circulation, which now allows us to give authentications. So it's always been in my use case to find a way to add additional security points while still enabling us to have access through the blockchain, through the public blockchain. Sorry.
So you're managing the data generated from the drone fleets through the blockchain.
Yes.
I mean, what measures do you have in place even to protect this data and to share it? How do you structure all of that? It seems like a lot on the back end.
Yeah, so as you know, we use Ethereum, we can work with XRP, but we create our own private chain. So we have the accessibilities where we can now pinpoint who we give access to. And then from there, once you get access or using your smart wallet, you're able to connect and open up our entire environment, which now allows you to not only see the NFTs, which we use as our unique IDs for our drones, but it
Mhm.
now allows you to aggregate that data, what it was able to capture in real time. And we can specify what parameters we're looking to use, if we're doing location, speed, um, certain operations that the vehicles are capable of, and we can turn those into unique IDs called NFTs.
So that literally blockchain technology is allowing you to both enhance the security and traceability of your drone operations.
Oh yes.
And
And
that's
it's on a public blockchain, which allows everyone to have access, but still do not access at the same time.
at the same time, which is that's the element of transparency and security at the same time that I think is what really legitimizes every project that you're applying this to, because it gives people the opportunity to see just how the technology is working for you, and then also leaves the owners of that data still feeling secure and knowing that it's being tracked and secure along the way. Um, how is it, because I would imagine, especially with thousands of drones, how does blockchain help you with the rapid deployment and the coordination of drones? Because I know you're starting to apply these to emergency response situations. And I think that's probably some of the most directly human impact application of your technology.
So as far as what's rapid response, we're able to now coordinate with the data sensitivity we capture from the UAV. So if it has certain unique opportunities that maybe other UAVs don't have, we're now able to deploy using blockchain so we can process data much quicker on the back end, which now allows us to validate the minute that it's authenticated. So once we have that go, we now can go through our entire systems without no worries, and we have a solid 100% proof of tracking everything we did in real time. So this allows for a management style system and called like a tokenization module. So when we go back and do our assessments, now everyone can see step 1 through 10, 10 through 1, and how it was operate, build efficiencies, and also improve times about what we can do to improve overall indicators.
So this, especially, I would think for scalability, is, I mean, you're talking about global operations at some point. I mean, this isn't, every time I talk to you, you're either, mentioning Ukraine or France or Africa, something going on and on continents that are really taking this to the next level. So how are you right now really incorporating blockchain and the NFTs and the tokenization model that you're talking about in the scalability of the applications?
Um, so on the security side, we're able to we really are able to assess what we're doing. So not only are we able to go into full deployment, but assessments are big key indicators of when you are deploying to emergency areas. So not only are we able to actually do the operations physically while not being there in real time, but we're now able to take those assessments and hand them over to our coordinators and to our commanders, our sergeants, and now they can help us and we can show them what's happening in real time. And then we can even build modules about efficiencies, data points that they were looking to create that maybe weren't there before. And then on the commercial side of things, we actually have another couple of applications where we're now allowed to take this process of data and put this in immutable ways so we can now coordinate for future usage. So now this allows us to really take these data points and put them into specific buckets, which we can use for future authentication purposes.
Wow. So, I mean, is there anything right now, in your frame of reference that you feel is limiting the expansion and scalability? I mean, what needs the most work? Because it seems like you've, forged a trail in places that other people haven't. What areas need to level up to what you've created already?
The one thing is we still stick with a lot of L1s just because of security purposes. So Ethereum is really what we utilize. We're getting onto blockchain, Bitcoin Lightning, but we still haven't fully adopted that. The gas fees are still something of concern. when we look at doing certain operations, because sometimes people want real authentication every 10 seconds, every 20 seconds. So we do have to come up with different measurables to apply what we're looking to actually update in real time, either location, GPS, or what the drone is operating and doing at that moment. So once we're able to highlight that and capture what our end users looking for, we're now able to 10 times that and give it to them in large volumes.
Wow. What advantages then do you feel like blockchain and emerging technology like AI is offering to help with the control and deployment of UAVs across different industries?
So what you're going to see is the way we conceptualize blockchain today is going to go into how AI is built for the future. By allowing us to authenticate and process this data and put it into immutable transactions, we now can build our own algorithms much quicker, and we can also produce a much more efficient algorithm in real time. So as we're translating the data, we can now feed the AI systems, which will incorporate the data and can spit back in seconds what we need to do and process in real time. And then we can dedicate those resources immediately.
Wow. I mean, you've always been so forward thinking. What future advancements do you foresee in the integration of blockchain and NFT technology with drone systems?
So tokenization is here to stay. Our entire network is going to become a tokenization piece. So what I mean by that is we're going to start to see more and more different modules of different concepts. So you're going to see people connect their devices and already have a digital implication of who they are. So you're going to be able to have not just a hard asset, but then it's going to be coordinated by a digital asset that will be there to verify what your hard asset is in real time. And with the way the world's going, the way hacking's coming, you need to have a verifiable system that now allows you to connect your physical asset to your digital asset in real time. There's nothing better for that than incorporating blockchain NFT into a sector such as this.
Wow. I think about how many applications there are for just the drone technology in and of itself, and then, making people feel like this is a secure and reliable way to apply both your drone technology and blockchain. What other industries do you think that it will be implemented by? I mean, it's like you yourself have done agriculture, logistics, security, like you're covering all the bases in the industries. What industries do you think, are the next to adopt this technology, and what industries maybe do you think need to?
Real estate is a really good module for this because of the tokenization piece. Estate's going to be trusts. Your trusts are going to soon be engulfed into these networks. Fed now is going to be another process of tokenization piece that we're going to see in the banking sector. So how they're able to process digital payments much quicker, much more efficient. That's going to be built off a private blockchain network. As far as our ambitions, construction is another big module we're going to be tackling. So we're going to be working with our capabilities and UAVs, and now switching this over to autonomous construction, heavy machinery equipment, which we are still going to be able to aggregate the blockchain data from which we collect and process this in real time. So climate change is one of the big things we're going to be looking to try to tackle. The better we can process efficiencies, the better we can help the world.
That's a game changer. I mean,
Hey.
yeah. Well, every time I talk to you, I remember, when we first met and you were talking about what you were working on at that time. And that was just, you were in the thick of everything with the farming industry. And I just thought that was, such a revolutionary way to upgrade, obviously processes that have been part of the infrastructure of the food supply. When you're referencing climate change, we start talking about how just globally there's shifts in how we're able to monitor climate change locally in real time. And I'm thinking that a lot of exactly your applications would be useful for that as well, is to, really being able to locally see what small changes are happening, and then maybe future pacing to be able to be more aware of when drought, floods, um, human impact climate change events are happening.
Food is
How
going
do
to
you
be a big space for that. So we're actually, one of the other projects I'm just getting started with is a cold chain storage facility. So we're looking to help. Um, One of the biggest problems we have is human waste, food waste. So we really want to make food waste an anomaly. And we really want to make it where so one of our big goals is really to try to help countries preserve food. So right now in Senegal, they waste close to about 80% of their food waste in certain aggregators. So our goal is to really use data to really build cold chain storage and now put this onto the blockchain. So not only are we able to help solve food waste, but we can now improve efficiencies to where farmers can grow their crops better. And then we can utilize this data modules for how we see fit to create an algorithm that now allows us to produce better products for the end user. So the goal is really to combine this and combine what we've done with our capabilities of IoTs and UAVs and bring this into one minute sector.
It'll be very interesting to see how NFTs and digital collectibles, as far as giving people a direct ownership of data points and being able to, I would even think the allocation of resources to different sectors being tracked with NFTs. How do you feel? What do you think, just in your future vision of things, that NFTs will play even a broader role in the adoption of these autonomous management systems in the coming years?
So it's going to play a huge role because you're soon going to see robotics is here to stay. This might
Mhm.
be the last summer we have going forward without a fully robotic autonomous system. We see the creations of Tesla, humanoids, all of these different incorporations are coming. So where NFT is going to play uniquely is they're going to be able to take management systems and now be able to put them on the blockchain. And your unique your NFTs are going to be uniquely individual humanoids or individual robotics. So for every cohort, you would now have a unique ID that will be applicable, what we can trace back to now at the blockchain. So if we wanted to know what exactly a robot was doing or a humanoid was doing, all we would need to do is access that unique ID and pull up all of that information about what that robotic or humanoid was doing at that time or any given moment.
The applications just seem unlimited at this point. I mean, it really feels like every single industry that exists could and will be upgraded into utilizing blockchain and NFT technology. Um, when you first, like, what was your first exposure to blockchain? I mean, I always, try to think back, like the first time I heard about Web3 technology and blockchain technology. Where did you even first hear about it? Like, how did that, where, bring me back to the very beginning, life before blockchain.
So I went to an Ethereum event and at ETH Denver. I used to go to ETH Denver when I was in Denver. So 2017 was my really first exposure. And I thought it had immense applications, but I also thought it wasn't ready at the time. So when I first thought about NFTs, I really saw it as an audio. So I was part of a project called Finder, which we created NFTs, and we were now authenticating different concepts of songs. So we could take your best part you liked about a song, the chorus, the beat, and we can correlate that across the entire network. And now we can literally incorporate whatever you liked about that song, and we'll play 10,000 songs just of that kind of sector. So that was my first experience. We worked with Atlantic Records on that, but that ended up getting shelved. And from there, I was sold 100% on blockchain. I just kept on seeing use cases, and then we got the introduction in 2020 or 2021 to cattle proof. So Beef Chain came down from Wyoming, and they looked to work with us because we specialize in data aggregation and data tracking. And they asked, did we have any capabilities of working in blockchain? And I said, oh yeah, we were definitely looking to work in there. So that was our first real project utilizing NFTs for actual physical hard assets. I never thought of blockchain as just a digital currency. I always thought of it as a digital twin effect. You can literally verify what a hard asset is doing and if it's actually considered a real hard asset based upon its actual unique IDs. And your unique IDs were anything that we would coordinate together. It could be, it's almost like how your favorite password, your favorite color, anything that we could uniquely put together that's unique to just that entity, we
Mhm.
can now put that in a coordination, which we called NFTs. And we worked with oh God, I don't remember his name, but he was the inventor of the 721 smart contract. So that was the biggest smart contract at the time. Um, I really wish I remembered his name. That I feel so bad. But I hope he's doing well. But um, we and so once we saw how the capabilities were to work with smart contracts and how it can update the system and update certain indicators of the system without erasing this, I knew that the applications going forward would only keep evolving. And I wanted to be a part of that. I saw a bigger picture with that. And I knew that this is before even AI really started to come. I knew that this could go in this direction. And I knew if we were to use this, it's not as a currency, but as a verification module, the capabilities were endless.
Yeah. What do you feel like, I'm always one of the biggest selling points I thought about Web3 and blockchain was that it really democratized access, giving people across the board, underrepresented groups especially, access to utilizing technology in a way that gave them ownership of what they were creating, ownership of what they were producing and contributing. And I feel like some of the conversation has gotten lost a little bit from, I mean, especially now in the AI space. When we first started talking about Web3 integration and NFTs, everything was solely about ownership of the individual and the creator, of whatever their IP was, being utilized in their sector, in their industry. Now,
Yeah.
how are you protecting your IP? I just want to make sure that we're dipping back in. This is just segue to get into some of the discussion about the patent that you've just received. But how do you feel, now, especially?
Hey, are you there? Hey, I'm sorry. The last 5 seconds, your screen, my screen or your screen froze really quick. I'm sorry.
Maintaining ownership of your IP in this day and age where it seems like some of that has
Yes.
been lost a little. The gap between Web3 and AI and the merging and overlapping of blockchain technology and AI now. What do you feel? What's the best strategy for someone to own and protect their IP in this landscape?
So that is a interesting question. I could tell you very much. The evolution of AI is here to stay. That is not going anywhere. But blockchain, see, this is the thing. When blockchain first really got into the mainstream, it got into the mainstream because people saw it as a currency which they could really profit off. And I'm not against that, but I saw the technology at the root level, and I thought of this as always a subsidiary to what blockchain could be. So once we start utilizing blockchain from instead of a currency point of view, it's from a security point of view, a way to evaluate assets, or a way to evaluate data. So I've always thought about blockchain as a way to coordinate data with real-time assets. So when you put that into this environment we have today with AI, AI takes data and creates different algorithms that now allow to produce or more to produce better efficiencies in different markets. So when we talk about how does blockchain coordinate with AI, it's seamless. If you come from this point of view, from the currency point of view, it's going to be hard because people are going to always think about um, the US dollar and Bitcoin. And those are kind of conversations I like to stay away from because those are just hard. We see what's happening with the SEC. We understand the struggles that actual blockchain companies have in the United States. That's why we see so many blockchain companies leaving the United States. But when we come at it from a point of view of a security implementation, when we come at a point of view from a tokenization piece, we now can work in conjunction with AI, because AI does nothing but aggregate your data to produce a better efficient model, what you're looking to get a better outcome of. So now if we can protect the data in an immutable way, which we can still allow for a tokenization piece to happen, now you connect those two and they work seamlessly. So one hand shakes the other hand. But if you're looking from a currency point of view, it probably won't work. And it does allow for the small guy now to make anything that they create and turn this into an NFT. So there's still value in art. There's still value in music. There's still value in creating your own projects. Being an independent artist today is never easier. You can sell your own entities, creating your own NFTs without ever going to Columbia, without ever going to these record companies. But where the biggest use case is going to be for blockchain is how it transfers the data from hard assets to the digital assets. And now we're producing these in our AIs. And once we put them into algorithms, we're really going to be able to flourish. So it's going to be, if we can have a world where blockchain can be the digital verification of a real-time asset, you're going to see the translation work smoothly. So you're going to love it. I really do believe the future is going to work in that kind of manner.
Yeah.
Blockchain will evolve. Tokenization will evolve. Digital IDs is a version of tokenization. Digital twinning is going to be another form of digital assets. So you're going to start having a digital copy of everything of who you are in real time. That can be put onto the blockchain system. And then that can be verified through immutable systems, whatever you would like to use. And from there, you can now put these into certain indicators or large language modules and produce algorithms that now can produce the results you're looking for at the given point. So it's going to work great, but people have to actually get away from the currency side of this. The currency side is good if you're a one-off kind of individual, but a corporation, they really should be looking at blockchain as a management system to what they already have.
And I think that's so important, is to highlight the use cases as a management system. And I feel like, the companies who are resistant to implement AI, resistant to implementing blockchain, those are the companies that are going to be phased out quickly. And they're just are not going to have the capability to keep up with the companies that start from the ground up utilizing blockchain, NFTs, AI. Um, that's part of really what you've been working on with your patent. And so I want you to talk a lot. I mean, that's a big deal. Congratulations on that. I know that was years in the making, and now you've gotten your patent in place. Talk a little bit about what the journey was to getting that patent, and now that you have it, what you plan to do with it.
Um, Man, so yeah, the journey, it was easy. So first we had to raise a pretty significant amount of money just to do the patent the correct way. As soon as we were able to establish that, so our patent pretty much allows us the capabilities of having agnostic. When we talk about unmanned UAVs or any kind of drone entity, we can manipulate or control any amount of swarm capabilities from a one person perspective, anytime, anywhere. So for a couple of our operations we did with NATO, we were in Jersey and we were still able to operate and command and control different fleets of UAVs in Norway, where we were doing our presentation, and also while simultaneously being able to give it separate indicators while still being able to visualize and control past the line of sight. So that's really what our patent goes in deep to. And then from there, we would use blockchains and then coordinate this with NFTs to make unique IDs for wherever we saw fit. So if there were certain areas that we wanted to connect with, certain land that we wanted to indicate, we can now put those into our unique IDs called NFTs. And then we could send it back and store them in an efficient manner where now commanders, sergeants are now able to see what we're doing in a management style system. Your second question, I'm sorry, I did forget, but I hope I was able to answer the first one.
No, that's perfect. And just, just thinking about how your patent is going to change the industry. I know that there are other companies that have been working in similar spaces, but what you've done has far surpassed what they've done. And so how your patent in particular is going to impact industries across the board.
So one thing we had to also learn is we needed to be dual use. So we actually came up with different concepts. So a couple of the things we're trying to now insert and get into the verticals of is logistics. So drone logistics is a big space for us because anything we can do once we have the proof of model to get over line of sight, we now can literally control and man vehicles from anywhere in the world. So there's so many, and my biggest infrastructures where I'm looking to implement change is in construction and logistics. Amazon is also in the logistics space. They're building out robotic warehouses now, so you're going to start seeing management style systems for robotics that will now allow a person to indicate and see what these managements are doing in real time. That's why you see Amazon's working from 48-hour deliveries to 24-hour deliveries. That doesn't happen with human labor because the efficiency, the amount of produce that needs to be done, it just doesn't allow for a hour lunch break in between to get those kind of processes done. And then you're going to see this in construction as well. Maybe not here in the United States because we still are a little behind compared to other parts of the world, but you do see construction autonomy happen in a lot of places. China has drone deliveries of construction equipment happening. So you're going to start to see those same kind of implementations here in the States, especially as time goes on. And this is going to allow for more efficiencies. Unfortunately, robotic lawnmowers is going to be another big indicator where you're going to see how management style systems can now be able to cut grass and formulate grass. So you're going to see swarms of grass cutters being able to be controlled, manipulated from a one person perspective. And if you wanted to make that an NFT, you could make it an NFT, but I'm not sure if you would want to grasp that kind of data. But the capabilities are there where you can now go across different sectors and still be able to be in an efficient manner.
I mean, I feel like the use cases for, the average person is how we start to communicate really the effectiveness and the innovation behind the merging of blockchain, NFTs, drones, and for practical application. I know there's a lot of talk through Nigeria, through Ghana, through like you were even just saying, just the application. And I know through Europe, they've been using a lot of these technologies. Japan, far ahead of the game. How do
Funny
you?
you mentioned Ghana.
Yes.
We're doing some work, and well, we're going to be doing some work coming up very soon in Ghana with construction mining. One thing I actually spoke with a gold operator, and I learned that for every second you're able to save them, you literally can translate that into an actual monetary price. So when we talk about building efficiencies and building applications now to allow operations to run better, construction mining is a huge sector because we talk about the amount of pollution these heavy machineries waste and go through. Well, what about if you only had to run them at certain indicators because they don't need to run all day? Because now we've been able to produce a better module that shows you how you can aggregate this data to produce the end results you're looking for. So instead of running 24 hours, maybe we work in these direct two areas, 8 hour piece. And now we're able to produce much better results, which also helps the end user, but also helps the environment as well.
Yeah, I think the multiple applications, it's so far reaching how this changes fundamentally processes that, people have been trying to problem solve for, that this inherently does that. And that's what I'm seeing happening when I hear about the application of emerging tech in Nigeria, in Ghana, as you mentioned. Japan, China have already been, at the forefront of implementing these things, on a large scale implementation for, individual progress, localized problems. In the solution driven space that you're in, it seems, you've even gotten out of the space where you're identifying problems and trying to solve for them. You are just implementing solution that across the board up level, all of the facets of the process. Going forward, I mean, thinking about where you thought this technology would be 5 years ago, how do you feel watching the evolution of it in real time now? I mean, is it being implemented as quickly as you thought it would be? Is it faster? And then I'm going to ask you to kind of future pace over the next 5 years. I don't think when you and I first met, we would have, that was before mass, widespread adoption of AI. It's before we had our ChatGPTs and our Claude AIs and our perplexities, at the tip of our fingers on the phone. Things have moved really quickly over the last 5 years. How do you feel that things are today with where we were years ago? And then what's going to happen in the next 5 years? Where are we going to be in our future paced mass adoption of emerging technology?
So to answer your first question, um, it's moving faster than I expect. When I told you 3 years ago what was coming, I thought we had a little bit more time, but we don't. The mass adoption is moving quicker than I ever expected. I didn't really expect for automation, maybe even the robotic space to become this prevalent this quickly, but I was very wrong. It's moving much quicker than I expected. And the mass adoption and the price point, the reason why the mass adoption, I say that is because the price points. When Tesla first came out with its cars, every single Tesla car was 100K out the door. Every single one. Now you're going to be buying human. You can already go buy your peppers. SoftBank has peppers now. You already have humanoids that you can go buy at a price point of $20,000 and less. So imagine an entity or machine that can literally do whatever you task it to and operate as if it's you for $15,000, $17,000. That automatically allows for a much more adoption as far as the landscape goes. So when you start talking about, and the thing is, everyone sees AI is from a cloud point of view, natural language and process point of view, but people don't understand that those two worlds, the software capabilities and the hardware capabilities, are getting ready to marry each other. And you're going to start to see that. So right now, Tesla is paying people, NVIDIA is paying people to train their robots to do different processes, the same as humans do today. That is happening a little bit quicker than I thought. I didn't think they could perfect the robotic side of this efficient, this quick. But now that they are able to, um, that's why I haven't rested. That's why I keep working the way I do, because you must stay ahead of the curve. You get behind the curve. When you look like us, sometimes you don't always get a second chance of being able to come back up. So the reality is that we've been able to really do this, but what's coming, um, what's coming, people are going to have to work much more efficiently. As we see layoffs happening today across different sectors, you have chatbots now that can do jobs better than most humans can. 5 years ago, you had resume writers that used to do resumes. Now your ChatGPT can do that more efficiently than ever before. So when we start talking about the software point of view and what it's been able to take over, people don't understand that for everything that we're doing on the LLM side, there's going to be a natural processing of the humanoid side. And those two worlds are going to collide. And so we're going to, just from a standpoint, in California, I was in California very recently. You're able to now get in Waymos. I don't know if you've been in a Waymo before, but Waymos are self-driving robot taxis, and I've been in two of those now. And when I tell you that is going to be a mass adoption very soon, it's going to be, logistics is going to be changed. When we first got out, when I was working with Cargo RX, they purchased Tesla semi trucks. I never thought that we could improve the efficiencies of long haul travel the way we did, especially this quickly. So you're going to see, we're experiencing the next great generational shift. When I was a kid, my mom always told me about the industry, the manufacturer era, when manufacturing jobs went overseas. Well, we're experiencing that same kind of anomaly right now because AI is going to be able to produce so much better efficiencies that it's not going to need 100% staff. Even on the software engineering side, you don't need 100% staff anymore. You can literally take your 40% of your best engineers and give them the highest grade quality of AI systems, and you can do what 100% staff team can do in real time. So when we start to like coordinate that, that's just today. And when we start to coordinate that with the future, well, the future is it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Um, I'm
Uh,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, and that's why I want to just piggyback off of that, because we talk a lot about trying to empowering equity in Web3 emerging technology. What what do you think is some of the best ways to do that, to bring underrepresented groups into a space where they're able to learn, implement, and evolve with tech, so that it's not surpassing them? Because we talk a lot about, kids going to college and what they're learning. By the time they're graduating and ready to implement it, the technology has already far surpassed what they've learned. So what ways, aside from like a YouTube University and GitHub, are people able to keep pace? Because you've managed to do that in a way like no one else has. And in fact, you've been ahead of the pace always. And, what advice would you give for somebody to be able to keep pace and move as quickly as the technology is?
So one thing we do is one of my big initiatives the last 2 years. I've been working with my COO, and we've really been looking to build STEM labs because we need to get educated on technology quicker. In our community, we're always the last to learn about technology. When I was telling my family about Bitcoin in 2017, 2016, I just looked at me like they were crazy. They're like, "Yo, that's fake money. That's not real. This is not real at all." And so we've always been last to the table for technology. We can't be last anymore. If we're not equivalent to our counterparts, we must be first. We have no more room to actually lag behind because, as you see, technology is changing so fast that people that have masters in computer science are not even as relevant today as they were 5 years ago, and they spent all of this cohorts of money to go to school because now we have no code, low code. When I first told you about no code, low code 2 or 3 years ago, it was only a matter of time before the efficiencies were going to be able to improve itself. And now you put that into this, worldwide network of AI. You have Copilot now that can do senior development now for engineering, and that's only going to keep changing how we progress going forward. So when we talk about this, people are really going to need to figure out where their niches are. I would not look to be anything generalized. I would look to find a niche, and you need to hold on to that niche and perfect that niche. Because what we've done, we went from just basic dev operations to really finding a niche with data tracking and data aggregation. That has now allowed us to go into a whole new world of autonomous UAVs, but it's all built off the principalities of how we're able to track and assess data. So from there, we found our niche, and now we just fully live in that space. So I would definitely tell people you need to find whatever unique that you have in your capabilities and translate that into a digital infrastructure. That is going to be how you survive what's to come. And even then, you're going to need a little luck and a lot of hard work, and some sleepless nights. Just and you tell me all the time about that, and I still have not listened one.
Yeah, I'm always hoping that you'll start implementing a regular self-care program for yourself.
Yeah.
How can
So
you start automating that self-care?
I'm working on that, but I will say the way things are going, in the next 10 years, there might not even be a need for what I'm doing because the way the future is changing so quickly. Um, Human efficiencies are just, we do more things at a lesser pace than what our counterparts are going to be doing. This is the first time in civilization where we now have something more efficient than humans that can own and operate, well, not own, but we will own, but and operate the system management. And you combine that with a capitalistic society. Now you marry those two. That's why we're seeing the kind of layoffs that we're seeing now. You're not seeing layoffs because people are not working hard, but because they're just not needed, because they were able to build efficiencies that now can reproduce what you're doing in real time. And
Yeah.
it's always about the bottom line for when you're talking about corporations and structures.
And that's when I think about, 10 years from now, I'm curious what your vision, I mean, let's push the box, as far out as possible.
We're going to
10
be
years
building
from
on the
now.
moon.
Yeah, well, that's
We're going to be building. So the next, I don't know if you noticed, the next big race is not anything here on Earth. You have India, you have China, you have Russia. The whole goal and landscape is to build on the moon. So it's almost like, and they're not going to be humans up there building, by the way, because we're not efficient enough to build up there. So they're going to be an evolution of humanoids. You're going to have robotics being able to really come into, and human factors be able to replace what we can do in the physical side of things. And then you combine it now with the digital effects that we have. You really should be talking about that's going to be the next big frontier. And you're already starting to see that now. So the evolution is going to, you're going to try to, I think there was a couple of DoD companies already set to actually start building on the moon in 2026. North Grumman, I believe, was one of them. But you're going to see that get to exploratory more. Look at what's happening now with Elon Musk and his confrontation with Boeing. The next big race is space adventures. You have all the wealthiest individuals trying to regulate how do we build for the moon in a capability way that allows for a commercialization of something.
well, and my first thought is your patent and your technology is perfectly placed and positioned to evolve with that ever expanding landscape of building. What would you like to see prospective developers doing in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, I would definitely like to IPO. I think that's definitely something big for me. Um, but I really would like to implement change. So where we can help companies and we can help societies, that's where I'm really looking to build my best use cases. That's why right now, one of my big initiatives was to work with the DoD, because one of the big things that's sacred to me is school shootings. The amount of school shootings we have here in the United States, it's a little off the chain. The one in Florida that happened, it took the officers 3 hours to literally evacuate a elementary school, and they still did not find the perpetrator until almost a couple of hours later. So we can build efficiencies, we can build modules that now can intersect with safety procedures that now allow people to actually have a better protection in place instead of what we currently have, because what we have is already in the past. We need to build for the future because the future is already here now. And then if we're able to stop losing lives in combat warfare, I believe the next big confrontational war is not going to be humans. You're not going to see people have their kids come home anymore in caskets from losses of war. So if we can really prevent that, I'm really satisfied with that. And then if we are able to help aggregation and really construction as well. Those two, construction and I'm sorry, not aggregation, agriculture. If we can help agriculture and construction improve, we can improve our climate, because that's another big frontier. Climate change is very real. And the way we build, the way we articulate what we're trying to do needs to be revamped. And that only can be revamped if two things: we build better efficiencies and we build better procedures, and some of those will maybe be non-human and some of those will be more human. But we need to articulate how we're building infrastructures, because we must do a better job of protecting what we have before we don't have it.
Yeah. I it's immediately apparent that if you're not at least keeping current pace, you will be outpaced. And you've always done an amazing job of outpacing everyone else. So really, you're setting the pace, which is a big deal. And
Thank you.
yeah, and it's been phenomenal to watch your evolution over the past 3 years. I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen this year, because I know you have a lot of balls in the air, of things in process and in play, and just to see that how this time next year, how those things are going to come to fruition. And you're impacting the entire industry with your work. And when we talk about empowering equity, when we talk about making certain that access is across the board and there are not boundaries to entry, I think you're a perfect example of being able to take your insight, your intuition, your intuitive knowledge of what works, and then integrating multiple disciplines to really create a whole nother next level use case. And you've done that, and it's a big deal. Congratulations on the patent. Looking forward to everything that's coming your way. And just knowing that Storage Institute, we had the Wevolution a couple of years
I
ago.
missed that. Out of a lot of the things I've been to as far as speaking engagement recently, I still have not had more fun than we had at the Revolution. It was unfortunate we have not had it again. It really needs to come back. It's a big necessity in our community, unfortunately, because one thing I've realized is the more opportunities I go to, the more and more people don't look like me. And it's cool. Like I have no problem living in this skin. I can live anywhere. But when you see and you get to experience different versions of us that look like us, it only allows you now to come away with a better concept of who you are. And now you might have a different perspective of how you can help even more, because that's what the Revolution definitely did for me.
Yeah, it was such a powerful just connection opportunity for so many of the founders and creators in Web3 and blockchain to come together to see what everybody was working on, but then also just come together for a support system of community. And I think the more opportunities we have to have spaces that feel inclusive, the more opportunities we pass along to future generations. And once we create that collective conscious awareness that there are no boundaries to entry, when we just start working with it, I think everyone, their first introduction into blockchain was something that just was able to pique our interest, and then being able to apply it to something. I think we just need to keep showing up and being the examples of how to apply emerging technology, and you've done an amazing job of doing that, Tola.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're doing big things. Thank you so much. I know your schedule is crazy because you're coordinating projects across the globe all at the same time. So to be able to take this time to talk with us today has been really a blessing. And I'm curious how anybody who wants to, how can they follow what you're up to? How can they follow to see what new things prospective developers is coming out with and what you're up to?
So that is actually a great question. So I've not done the best job of promoting our stuff, but that's been a little bit intentional. So the best way is to follow us is on our LinkedIn Perspective Developer, or you can also follow us on our website, perspectivedev.com. We have an Instagram, we have a social media, Perspective Developer on Instagram, and we have a Twitter, not as active as we are on our Instagram, but LinkedIn's the best way to find us, as we're we're business to business oriented. We are now going to produce a business to consumer. So we are going to start to release more products of what we're doing and our capabilities as time's going forward. But we needed to get our patent in place, because one thing I'm learning very quickly is when you have something and you are a little fish in a big pond, they will look to try to incorporate what you do very quickly. So we wanted to make sure we were protected first before we go out to the mass. But now we're ready.
Perfect. Well, we're excited to watch your evolution from this point forward, and we're going to have to move quick to keep up with you. So keep the pace, keep setting the pace. We love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tola. I'm looking forward to following up with you in the months to come and seeing how everything's moving along this time next year.
Yeah, we have a demo. Maybe we're doing a demo with the governor of Maryland coming up. So maybe by the end of the year, maybe early next year, we would love to speak about that a little bit more in detail and show you how that goes.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
so much, Tola. We'll put the links to track you in the notes so that everybody can just keep up with what you're doing, and make sure you keep up fast, because Tola's moving fast and setting pace.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, Tola. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank
Bless.